All Century 21 real estate offices are independently owned and operated.
This is the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. Good morning. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker of Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, in with my husband. How are you today, Pat Devaney, realtor?
I'm very good. How are you?
Husband.
I'm good.
Drone operator.
Licensed commercial drone pilot.
And the most important jobs, the Century 21 sign man.
Sign man, that's me.
Yes, you put in our signs and you take them out, those big, nice poles with the panels.
Yes, and when the ground's so dry, it's like putting them into concrete.
We're here with, second week in a row, with Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie Dominic. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here with us. And
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We have Pat Tobin, Lackawanna County's Director of Assessments. Good morning.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. You know, your official title, which I haven't stated yet, is Director of the Office of Assessments and Appeals. But I much prefer saying Director of Assessments. That's easier for me.
That's fine.
Thanks, guys, for being here with us again this week. We're here every Saturday at 11 a.m., Sunday at 11:30 a.m., where we cover many real estate topics. We have a full-time real estate office with many exceptional realtors who've been guiding, assisting, and advising clients in real estate matters for 50-plus years.
50-plus years, that's a long time. During the week, feel free to email us with any questions you have at questions@jruddy.com. That's questions@jruddy.com. Or you can give us a call at 570-344-6724. And then you go and hit the webcam tab. We have a webcam on the roof at Dunmore Corners, and you never know what you're going to see on that camera. And we get thousands of hits a month from all over the world on it. It's amazing.
View our listings, search the MLS listings, and listen to archive radio shows by going to mobilefriendlyjruddy.com, JRUDDY.com, where we also have all the popular podcast apps that we feature our radio program on. And remember to check us out on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. I'd like to mention, every week I try to say hello to people that listen to our show, that appreciate our show, love our show. I'd like to say hello to Vincent Williamson. He just gave us a social media shout out. He said he loves our show, so we love that you love our show, and thank you so much for listening. Anybody that calls my office that mentions the real estate show, sometimes my agents don't let me know, but when you call or you email or you do anything and you let one of my agents know that you listen, please stop them and ask them to let me know so that I could say hello to you on the air. Okay, Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie Dominic and Pat Tobin, Lackawanna County Director of Assessments. Good morning. We're going to talk about reassessments again this week. It's really important that the public, the listeners, understand what's going on, why it's going on. There's a lot of fear out there, and most people think that their taxes are going to be raised. I can't fault them in that thought process because I, too, feel the same way.
I think the unknown is what is most worrisome, and the fact that it hasn't been done in 54 years, so no one knows what to expect in the general public. But as I was telling you off the air, I lived in a much smaller home for my starter home for over about 15 years. And my taxes there were, I think, a little more or equal to what I pay now, and I live in a much larger home. So I do know firsthand that there is an inequity out there. And we have to protect our most vulnerable citizens, but we have an obligation to protect all our citizens. So the people that are overpaying, they're entitled to have their taxes reassessed, and so that they're paying the proper amount. But at the same time, we want to protect our elderly or people who are living paycheck to paycheck. But again, we can't focus on one group and ignore the other. So this is a countywide reassessment, and it needs to be done for consistency and, again, to cure any inequities that are out there right now.
Okay, one of the loudest opposing views would be because the senior citizens who are on a fixed income in their homes may not be able to withstand a tax hike.
Here's the thing, though. Without diminishing their concerns, what are we supposed to do? Just never reassess? I mean, it's been 54 years. And, I fault that to prior administrations who didn't reassess for whatever reason. But it has to be done. It is a barrier to a certain extent to economic development. We had a deficit, a proposed or a estimated deficit for 2022 of $6 million that was dwindled down to a little over $3 million. Our expenses exceed our revenue. So we need to cut our expenses and or generate revenue. And we can't generate revenue if we can't get businesses to come to Lackawanna County. And not reassessing, I believe, really does make it it doesn't look favorable to people who want, to want to relocate to this area.
Okay, so a reassessment is tied to economic growth.
Yes.
And that's the bigger picture here. But what do you have to say to the families, not just the seniors, 65 and above? What do you have to say to the families that struggle? And, we're in tough times right now in the economy, jobs and the price of gasoline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is there inflation? Is there not? We're not going to get into a debate, recession, is there not, so on and so forth. But there are hard times out there. We're seeing it at the grocery store. We're seeing it at the gas pumps. We're seeing it everywhere, right? What do you say to the families who are living paycheck to paycheck and are going to now have to deal with a reassessment that will increase their property taxes? Will there be help? Will there be assistance to those families?
Well, first, I just want to say that where I was getting to with regard to the bringing, trying to have economic development growth is so that we don't raise taxes. Because if our expenses keep exceeding our revenue, it's going to shift to the residents anyway. And that is something that I really oppose. I address it. As long as I think that expenses can be cut, I'll never raise taxes because the burden shouldn't be shifted to our residents. So, but, we have to bring new business in. We have to grow Lackawanna County in order to generate more revenue to avoid having to increase taxes. But so the Tax Claim Bureau, they deal with delinquent taxes, and they have a elderly deferral program for 65 and older, and there's certain eligibility requirements, and they're able to make payments for their delinquent taxes so that they don't lose their home. So what we wanted to do was try to offer some type of relief for people who are affected. And I wasn't going to say this on the air, but I might as well, because it was what was my thought process behind it, is that I didn't have a homestead. I mean, my grandparents did and things of that, but I grew up with my mother in an apartment. So I didn't have a homestead, and that always bothered me. So I find having a homestead very important, like to children and to families. And I'd hate to see anyone lose their home over reassessment. So I got together with Pat Tobin, our director, and Bridget Carey, our solicitor, and a couple other people. And we came up with something that I just circulated to the other powers that be to review, and hopefully we will vote before the end of the year on it. But it's called the Reassessment Relief Initiative. And there's going to be certain eligibility requirements. There will be a total annual household income level that you can't be above. Okay. One for individual deeded owners, one for multiple deeded owners, meaning like a husband and a wife. There can't be any real estate tax delinquencies. The property has to be insured. Right now we have it at 20%. I will talk about that. I think that's fair. Now, again, this program is only for the county taxes. So there's 3 taxing bodies: the municipal, the school, and the county. So if you receive, right now we have it at 20%. Can't say that if that's not going to change after I hear from everybody. But right now, if your net tax increase of your county taxes is 20% or greater, you would be eligible for this. Other eligibility requirements: only the deeded owners may apply, meaning the people who are on the deed of the property. Has to be a primary single-family residential dwelling, no commercial, no rentals, owner-occupied. You have to live in it and own it. And you can't own any other residential or commercial properties in the area. Those are some of the eligibility requirements that we have right now drafted.
This has to be voted on, correct?
Right. So this program, what it is, it's a max of 2 years, and we cannot completely eliminate taxes or tax increase for some people and not others, because say, for example, our threshold income amount is $35,000. Okay. Somebody who's making $36,000 isn't going to qualify. So how is it fair to eliminate the taxes for the person who makes the 35 and not the person who makes the 36? It really is. There's so many moving parts. So what we are doing, it is a form of relief, is for 2 years is the max. And you have to submit an application with documentation, which we will have outlined each year for each year that you apply. And if you qualify, the amount of the increase in your county taxes will be levied as a lien against your home. And I know that isn't the most favorable, I guess, option for people, but the way I look at it is that it will take the pressure off. So then if people have 2 years to think, okay, we need to budget more, or we need to cut our expenses here, or I need to get a second job, or, we need to, they need to be able to rework their expenses within the household to make it work. Because I do understand that some people live paycheck to paycheck. So it'll be levied against the house. No interest or penalties will be applied. And you can either you could pay that lien whenever if you get a tax refund or something, you want to pay it off, or you can make payments towards the lien. Or when you sell the property, the lien will be paid. Or if you pass away, whoever inherits the house will inherit the lien as well. Right, Pat? Is that
correct?
Okay. So again, I would love to come up with a program where we can, eliminate the tax altogether, but it just wouldn't be fair to the other residents. So this is a way to give people some time so that they don't feel extremely stressed and pressure, like, oh my God, my taxes went up, say, $800. I just don't have that. It gives them time to figure out what they need to do household-wise, budget-wise, to be able to make it work.
Okay, so this reassessment.
And this program is not just for 65 and older, like the Tax Claim Bureau deferral program. This is going to be for all ages, because I am aware that, there are people who are in 30s and their 40s or whatever that have families, and because rent is so expensive. It's so expensive. It was expensive before COVID. It's even more expensive now. So a lot of people do have homes, but that doesn't mean that they still don't live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
So this is open to everybody.
So this reassessment is still you're going to expect appeals after this reassessment process.
Yes. I mean, well, when I walked out of Monroe County, right after I was elected commissioner, and I'll never forget this because I remember thinking, no one knows who I am out here. And I walked out and this gentleman said, Commissioner Dominic from Lackawanna County. And I was like, hi. And we were talking about reassessment. It was right when we started talking about it. And he said that they had like 6,000 appeals or something. So, yes.
Through the roof.
Yeah. So we used to have a board, Pat, you can correct me on this. I think we had 8 members. But again, it goes back to my need for consistency. And when you have different boards hearing the same issues, but not necessarily communicating with each other, inconsistencies will result. So we reduced the board down to 3. We have a 3-person board now, which is actually in accordance with the law. And down the road, when reassessment happens and the appeals come in, we're going to have to have, I don't know what they're called, but what are they called?
Auxiliary board.
Auxiliary boards, yes, to deal with, because we won't be able to have a 3-member board handle all.
So
these
in the
appeals.
past, when somebody appealed their property taxes, it was often thought that it would be an automatic reduction. However, when you walked into your appeal, you were told, a property owner was told, this is not going to necessarily decrease your taxes. Your taxes could increase.
Yes.
Okay.
I can't. I bought my current house, right before I won the general election. So as a commissioner, it's my understanding I can't appeal my taxes. But my prior house, I did appeal them 3 times. And yes, that is what you're told, because that is the truth. If they look and they see that you're actually underpaying, they can go up. I did not have that experience. My taxes did not go up, but my taxes, I think they went down very a very insignificant amount.
Yeah, they never really adjusted them significantly, and I see that as a realtor. However, sometimes it's been suggested to people that listed their properties with their legal counsel would suggest maybe doing a tax appeal. But one of the burdens of proof is on that property owner, that they have to show that the other neighboring properties pay less.
Yes, and actually when I did it the last time, I contacted, and this was before I was a commissioner, and it was before I was a public defender too, so we're talking good 8 years ago, maybe longer, I have no idea. But I contacted the assessor's office, and they helped me with that. So they are very helpful. There are two main things or arguments that I've heard, and Pat, you can tell me if you've heard different, but the first is that a lot of the inequity is created by people who own land and then build a house and then put all these improvements, maybe, a shed or a pool or whatever they do to their house, but they're not notifying the assessor's office, hey, I made all these improvements to my home.
Aren't they supposed to be pulling permits?
Well, they do, but I don't think that necessarily results in...
That doesn't? No?
Does it? I mean,
No.
I think in theory, that's how it should work. You pull permits and then... But think of the manpower of keeping up with that.
Yeah, correct. In theory, by law, you need to pull a permit for any improvement you make on your property.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not always the case.
Right.
And in the cases that the commissioner is referring to, you could have a property who is not assessed at the proper value, and their neighbors know that, and they want to come in for an appeal, and sometimes that triggers us to go out and say there was no permit for this pole barn, and then they get increased. And
we have 40 municipalities in Lackawanna County. So for our assessor's office to look and see who pulled permits, and then that's a whole other line of manpower we would need, I think.
It's a good body of work.
All right. So what about, and this is something I've heard over the course of my career, the last 30 years, there are people who genuinely believe that every time they buy a house, their property taxes go up. Pat Tobin, Lackawanna County Director of Assessments, what do you have to say about that?
Jackie, that's simply not true. The only way that you can have an increase in your assessment is if you make an improvement to your property. If you put an addition on, if you add a sunroom, if you add a garage or perhaps a pole barn. But we cannot reassess any property that does not change the footprint of that property. So when a home sells, there is no increase in assessment, not in Lackawanna County anyway.
How about a pool?
We are not currently assessing pools. I don't know moving forward if that'll be the case after the reassessment, but right now putting in a pool does not increase your assessment.
Okay, that's good to know, because there's a lot of money in pools, especially in ground pools and all the landscape and hardscape that goes around it, in pool houses. So,
I purchased my house in 2019, and my taxes did not go up. My taxes stayed what they were, what I was told they were when I purchased the house.
I cannot believe how many times I have heard that over the course of my career. There's people that really, truly believe that, and it's good to hear your response as the Director of Assessments for Lackawanna County. I appreciate that. We're headed towards a break. We have with us Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie Dominic, and we have Director of Assessments Pat Tobin. Pat, would you like to review a listing, please?
Sure. We have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's at 1713 Mulberry Street in Scranton for $172,000. This lovely home is in the Hills section. It's close to the University of Scranton and Geisinger Hospital. This home has an updated kitchen and baths along with beautiful hardwood floors on the first floor. This charming home has a first-floor laundry area, a walk-up attic, a newer patio and porch, and plenty of off-street parking in the rear of the home. That's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home in the Hills section of Scranton for $172,000, and that's listed by Stacy Granza of our office.
Thank you, Pat. Stay with the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We'll be right back. In your past real estate experiences, did you find most agents were mediocre? At Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate, we defy mediocrity by being relentless. Don't settle for average. Contact the Relentless at Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate. We have an excellent track record of serving the community for 50 plus years. Call 570-344-6724 or visit jruddy.com. That's jruddy.com. We are back with more Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. I'm Jackie Ruddy, broker, in with Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie Dominic and Lackawanna County Director of Assessments Pat Tobin. Thank you again for 2 weeks in a row talking about reassessments. This is a big item that our area is undergoing.
It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic. And of course, we want people to understand it, not fear it, and to know what's going on. And you've had a couple of already, you've put on some public meetings about this to educate the public.
We've had 3 public meetings so far. We had one at Lackawanna College in downtown Scranton, one at Lakeland High School in Scott Township, and one at North Pocono High School in Covington Township. We also had an online meeting the following week, and there will be more coming in the future as the reassessment develops. You can find the listing of any public meeting we're going to have at Lackawanna County, one word, lackawannacounty.org, and then click on assessment. And once you're on the assessment website, you can see on the left reassessment. Click on reassessment, and all the information should be right there.
And County Commissioner Debbie Dominic, you want to make 2 points.
So the like I said, the first thing that when I was running for commissioner, I had only touched upon reassessment in terms of my research about it. Now that I'm in office and have sat in meetings and really understand it, I could see why people fear it. I do. So there are 2 concerns that I've heard just from talking to the general public. The first I already spoke to was the fact that people are underpaying because they make improvements to their home, and their houses aren't reassessed, and so their taxes probably should be higher than they are, but because of the improvements, but they're not. The other is that the most vulnerable citizens of Lackawanna County are elderly people who have been in their homes 30, 40, 50 years, that they are going to get hit the hardest because they've been in their home for so long, and now they're going to experience a spike in taxes. And it's my understanding that is not necessarily true, and I'll have Director Tobin talk about that.
That is not necessarily going to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the homes that people have been in for 40 and 50 years, maybe even 54 years, the assessment were based on market values from 1968. Well, if you put a new market value on it today, it's probably not going to be the nicest home on the block, and it's probably not going to have the highest assessment either. And once you work in the millage rates, they may not see an increase at all. But we don't know that. That's yet to be determined. But that's the most likely case scenario with some of the lowest assessments in the area.
Okay, so, sometimes homes, most people when they think about this think that naturally properties have appreciated. In some cases, there will be properties that have fallen into disrepair and have actually depreciated, right? So this goes back to that theory, and I think it's a theory. I would like to know after the reassessment has concluded, if it actually occurred this way, that a third of the property reassessed will go up, the taxes will go up, a third will stay the same, and a third will go down.
Yeah, that's accurate. It's a theory. That's what usually happens, but it's not always the case. I've talked to the directors of assessments in Monroe County. I'm right now beginning a conversation with Wayne County's director because they're just finishing up their reassessment. And Luzerne County, I spoke with their director quite extensively. And in Luzerne County, they were close to the numbers, but they weren't exactly 33, 33, and 33. I think they had slightly more people's assessments go down and slightly less go up than 33, 33,
really?
33. Yeah,
interesting.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
What about Monroe?
Well, in Monroe, they experienced a split very close to 33, 33, 33, but they also saw increases in the commercial properties, which would increase revenues, which would actually help taxpayers.
I mean, as an attorney, it's speculative. I mean, we're just going to, I think the fear comes from the fact that it's been 54 years, but we're not going to try to throw anybody out of their home. We're going to help, just like the Tax Claim Bureau helps with delinquent taxes, the Office of Assessment and Appeals. We're going to do everything we can to try to help people stay in their homes.
Okay, very quickly, last week we talked about the actual Tyler technology process. They're the representatives, the third party, the neutral third party that's going to be coming out to the neighborhoods. They started in Taylor. They're going to be going to the other areas. There's 40 municipalities within Lackawanna County. Eventually, they'll be knocking at our door. They don't have to come in, but they will go around the property, and they will be measuring, and they will be identifying themselves. But there is a way for homeowners to determine the people there are actually who they say they are. And once again, if you can review that with us, Pat.
Sure. When you go back to the Lackawanna County website and you go into the assessment office and then under reassessment, there are going to be photographs of each one of the field representatives that are out there. It will list their name, it will show a picture of them, and also what car they're driving. And all Tyler representatives, when they're in the field, will be wearing orange safety vests, a Lackawanna County issued ID, and they'll obviously have their clipboards. So you can confirm on the website if this person is actually with Tyler Technologies. And additionally, all of the police in each municipality that they'll be working in are contacted prior to their arrival. And we try and do the same thing with the borough councils and the borough presidents. And we want everyone to know that we're going to be there so that we reduce that fear that people may have of a stranger knocking on their door.
Okay. And one point that I know you want to make, Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie
I just
Dominic.
want to make the point that we as commissioners, we have the duty to protect all of our residents in Lackawanna County. So it's important, obviously, to protect the elderly and our most vulnerable and people who are living paycheck to paycheck. But we also have to protect the people who are overpaying. We have to cure the inequity across the board, and we can't ignore those people. We can't do one thing to help residents at the cost of other residents. So I just ask everybody to stay tuned. Hopefully the reassessment relief initiative will be passed. We will keep our thinking caps on to see if there are any other programs we can come up with to help people get through this process. Again, I think that you just have to write out the process. There's no reason to worry about it now and to speculate as to what's going to happen. Just write it out. Please cooperate with our people. And at the end of it all, the assessment office, they're great people. And I have no doubt that they will help you get through it.
And what's the phone number there that they can contact someone, please?
The phone number at the Lackawanna County Assessment Office is 570-963-6728.
So if somebody has concerns, they want to reach out because they don't necessarily go online to find out information, they can call your office?
Correct.
All right. Wonderful. I really appreciate the time you took, both Lackawanna County Commissioner Debbie Dominic and Director of Assessments Pat Tobin. Thank you for being here 2 weeks in a row with us. We're so happy and delighted we finally tackled this topic. I appreciate the time you took to explain it all to us.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. With buyer demand waning, Redfin's data shows cities that had rapidly rising home prices, they are more at risk of a downturn. But here are 12 cities that will weather a housing market downturn during a recession. Number 12, Chicago, Illinois. 11, Columbus, Ohio. 10, Rochester, New York. 9, Kansas City, Missouri. 8, Buffalo, New York. 7, Boston, Massachusetts. 6, Cincinnati, Ohio. 5, Cleveland, Ohio. 4, El Paso, Texas. 3, Montgomery County, PA. 2, Philadelphia, PA. And 1, number 1, Akron, Ohio. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable with Century 21 Jack Ruddy Real Estate on 94.3 FM The Talker. We will be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 11:30 a.m.